Hey, beautiful souls, it's your girl, Coach Nene. Thank you for choosing I Transmute, where we listen to understand, where we learn to grow, and we glow from the inside out. I hope you're ready to transmute that pain into power. Let's go. Let's blossom, baby. Thank y'all for being here today. This is my very first YouTube episode, and I am very excited to get on here and talk to you guys about pain and transforming pain into power, because it's been one of the motivators of my life, and it's crucial in everybody's life because it's something that is constant and it's something that will always come. So it's important that we know how to transmute that pain into power and not take that pain and use our power and transmute that pain into things that don't bring higher vibrations or positivity to this world, because it can happen. It's necessary that we have the tools that we need to be able to navigate and guide ourselves out of certain situations and certain traumas, no matter what walk of life that we've been on. And I'm here to tell y'all and talk to y'all a little bit about pain and transmuting that pain, and also to talk to you guys about how I transmuted my pain into power, because it's important, right? And so just a little bit of background about me. Grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm 35 years old. I have 4 daughters. I am married, thank God. It took me a few fools to get to where I needed to go, right? But it takes a fool to learn, right? So hopefully those people that, I've let go in my past are really doing the things that they need to do and growing and learning and advancing in their life. I wish no ill will on anybody. Those are never my intentions. My only intentions are to grow and evolve. So from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised, born to Dennis, Michael, Tana, and Erica, and love my parents dearly. They were fairly young, and I lost my father at the age of 10 to a car accident. He was in a hit and run, and we never did get to the bottom of that investigation, but I have now, after 25 years, grown to have peace with that in my heart and understand that his journey was his journey, and I love him, and I loved him while he was here, and I don't want to live off the shoulda, woulda, couldas of life. And I just want to embrace the present and thank God for giving me that gift of having a father who was there for me. My mother was on drugs. She was addicted to crack cocaine. And, I'm not going to say that my father was perfect, because he had his addictions too, but he was more functioning. He was able to maintain. He was able to hustle. He was able to do certain things that my mother just kind of lost herself through the struggle. I didn't always understand when I was a kid, like, what's going on? Why do I have to deal with this? Because, when you're a kid, you expect a mother to be a mother. You don't expect for a mother to have her own traumas. And we see our mothers as superwomen, right? So we don't understand the pain and the suffering and the traumas and the womb healing that they had to deal with behind the scenes. So understanding that. And I remember being mad at her for a long time, but actually, give me 1 second, guys. Let me turn this off, because I have been working and I don't want to. I remember just being really mad at her for a long time, like, why is she not here, but still loving her. I remember always loving my abusers too, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. So went through that, lost my father at the age of 10, lost my mother at heart to, crack cocaine in the streets. And my mother wasn't active in me and my younger brother's lives. So on her binge, she would disappear and be gone for years and years. So of course, my father raised my brother and I, took care of us and made sure we had all the things that we needed. So I grew up with that mother hunger, that wanting to have a mom. And of course, my dad, he had his player ways and his player days. And, we would go around women and I would be very clingy to them, just wanting to have that mothery type of relationship. And one woman in specific, which is my stepmother that he married before he passed away, I believe they married in November and my father passed away in March. So shortly after they got married, he passed away, and this was 99. My mother having to take us in, and just the struggles behind my biological mother having her addictions and not being able to be there for us, to nurture us and care for us and provide for us during this time. And my stepmother also being overwhelmed and taking care of her own children at that same time, and which she had 3, and which were all older than me and my brother. So just a lot of loss, a lot of hurt. And not only losing my father at an early age, but losing just that connection with my mother, and so many other things that come along with that. When you don't have your father, you don't learn discipline. You don't learn, the proper ways that a man is supposed to truly care for and love a woman. Or you learn detrimental ways. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see him really thrive in his marriage. And I did notice a lot of change when he did get married, as far as just being that faithful and loyal and being very excited about that, and finally finding the one and settling down. And just a beautiful thing for a man to be able to come into his early 30s and then be tragically taken. And I didn't understand the extent of the grief and loss then. I grieved a lot different. I was very strong. I grieved by cleaning up. That's how I would take my mind off of things. I would stay busy. I would work. I would do other things. I watched my father work 2 jobs. I watched my grandmother, who also was a sole caretaker because that's where we lived, for a very long time with my father, because he was the baby boy of all my grandmother's children, which she had 9 children. And we stayed in her house, of course, because my father needed that extra support to be able to care for me and my brother as he worked, So I was grateful to have that. And they soon passed away after my father passed, too. So my grandparents passed away, I want to say 2000, 2001. I was probably 11, and 12. So that's all of my sole caregivers gone. And then having to go and stay with the woman that my father married, but I barely really knew, right? So it was very uncomfortable for me to get used to that. And I did a lot of rebellious things, and I did a lot of things that I'm not, too happy with now, but I understand where they come from. And I understand that I was coming from a place of anger, and I didn't get the proper guidance that I needed in certain situations. And I had a lot of built up trauma before I even moved in with my stepmom. So it was really hard for her to break those barriers of my exterior shell that I had, because I was so loyal to the core that I didn't understand that God was moving me and evolving me out of places that no longer serve me or my soul. So it's important to remember that when we're going through pain and we're going through traumatic events, hey, I'm not the only one who's been here. This is not the first time this has happened. I'm still here. Joy comes in the morning. And what's the reason I'm still here? I always try to say or tell myself, I don't want to grow cold from these things. And even at an early age, praying as a young girl, God, please don't let my heart grow cold from these things. I want to still be able to live. And that taught me then, hey, I love life, even at an early age. So just being able to navigate that, and even at an early age, and still love, that was very, very important. Like I said, pain has been a motivator to me. People look at pain as, just it's so down and out or whatever. And it is, because those are the things that come up when we go through those emotions and we lose those people that we love. Those are great pains, that's stuff that we can't get back. But how we take that pain and what we do with that pain in those moments and in those hours is important. Examples. Yeah, I've cried. I've sat down. I've not wanted to get up. I've been depressed to where, oh God, why me? Woe is me. But at the end of the day, I say a prayer where God still give me strength and give me that joy in the morning to be able to do the things that I need to do and fulfill my purpose. And we get along, right? So I want to kind of talk to you about how I Transmute came about, and Harmony Corner, really, which is the founding business of why I Transmute, is here. So Harmony Corner came about in 2021 when my cousin passed away. Her son and her were killed from a domestic violent relationship, which is something that my family is very familiar with the women in their family. And as I get down to the cycles and the patterns of the women in my family and what they've been through and what we carry, you know, just from the womb, and ancestral trauma, and just those behaviors and patterns that were woven through generations, you know, it helped me to kind of understand, you know, a lot of women in my family were masculine because my grandfather was a narcissist. And he was a good man. He was a wonderful provider, but he was also a narcissist. And I do believe that having a lot of children and then being sick, you know, he gained emphysema and, you know, just really couldn't use his lungs or move around like he did, had a lot to do with him becoming that type of man later on in life. And he wasn't this to a lot of people, and it kind of, you know, shocks people when I tell my story, like, well, you know, my papa, y'all see him like this, but, you know, he said I was going to always be like my mama, you know, I was going to do this and that and the third, and I really didn't see any positive outcome from that. So, you know, really growing up and not having that protection and that guidance forefront, you know what I mean? Like my mama, my daddy, it was a struggle for me. So transmuting that pain for me was extremely hard. I was depressed, and I didn't understand how depressed I was at the time. I was just living life. I didn't understand how much trauma I had going on, because not only had I lost a parent, not only had my mother been gone from addiction, but I also dealt with early childhood sexual abuse in my grandmother's house, you know, while my dad was gone at work, and certain situations that would happen there. And I dealt with domestic violent relationships later on in my life, to where, you know, I realized, dang, I really didn't heal from a lot of things, and I just kept moving. I really didn't take the time to slow down. Well, 2021, I slowed down. My great and dear cousin was murdered, her and her son. And this wasn't just a cousin, you guys. This was a cousin, a best friend, a sister. We overcame so many things together. She was that cousin there that when I got old enough to really kind of understand life, kind of bridge some of those gaps together with my father and understanding his life and how that went, to which kind of helped me to bridge some gaps and to become more at peace with who I was, and to walk in my journey and to continue to walk in my journey. So that helped me a lot. But her and her son were murdered to domestic violence, and it really hurt me because she was there for me for both of my domestic violent relationships and seeing me come out of that. And so it was really hurtful to me because she didn't tell everybody about what she was going through, not even me. And I guess I kind of felt some anger with her when she left. Like, girl, you didn't tell me, you know, fought side by side with me. But not only that, her baby was taken, who was 19 years old, trying to defend her. And it's a different grief, you know, when you lose people at the age of 10 as opposed to the age of 30, and you've gone through a little bit of life with them and experienced a lot more. Because I love my dad and I had a relationship with him, but I didn't have a lot of life built with him, or life memories and lessons like I did with her and her family. So I went into a great depression. It was terrible, you guys, but beautiful things come out of pressure. I can say that was the first time that I sat down. When we go through painful experiences, it's so important that we take the time to sit down. That's our reflection time, you guys. We got to sit down and think, because me, as a person who was always cleaning, always doing this, to cope with those type of issues, or to overwork myself, which put a strain on the relationship with my daughters, you know, that was what I was doing. So we never really give ourselves a chance to grieve and really feel that pain. But this time I sat down and I felt all that pain. So when I sat down and felt all the pain this time, I started to really deal with me and my demons. Because of me and that cousin had overcome so many challenges together as far as that child sexual abuse. And as far as, that domestic violence and losing an auntie who husband killed her from domestic violence, and just letting that all be woven through the family, and having women that were abused by men and other women inside the family, and sharing those experiences with her. So all of these things rushed back to me, and I finally had to deal with it face front. I dealt with the sexual abuse and the traumas and the sexual demons that came behind that, because people don't want to talk about the fact that, yeah, we overcome this pain and we cry too, but we also go through revengeful moments like, well, how could people do these things to me? And no, I'm not saying that I would want to do these things to anybody, but we want to inflict some type of pain on other people, whether it be talk about them back or go get them in some type of revengeful way. So really having to sit with myself and understand that, again, everybody has their journey and learns at their own lessons and their own rates. But this is for me. Where did this come from? And truly, truly getting to the root of the issues, and not just surface leveling it and brushing that shit under the rug. So it's like, okay, where did these wounds come from? First I had to call out that wound. What exactly is it that I'm dealing with? Where did it come from? How much trauma did I really experience? Started to really research and started to read books, started to get in my self-help, and one of the books that really helped me was Mother Hunger. Really got more into my Bible, started to get more into my spirituality, and just really started to hone in more on me. And it wasn't easy, because it's really hard to break habits that you've been in for a long time, because we don't realize that they're detrimental until you actually move out of that environment. So having that time to actually sit down and think about it and reflect on it really helped me to move to the next level in peace. And another thing, my support system through all those other times, I never really had one. I have to say that my husband was spectacular. My mother's great, because during my rebellious days, I wasn't around my mother. I wasn't bringing, my boyfriends and my mans around her, or I wasn't really spending a lot of time with family. I was out here doing what I wanted to do because I was ashamed of the things that I did, so I didn't spend a lot of time around family. And wasn't really bad things, but I used to be smoking weed and drinking. And my family, they wasn't really into that type of stuff. We had lawyers and doctors on that side, so going around them and not being able to do my activities and all that, it was a bore to me at that time. So really coming out of that and understanding, hey, God elevated me here so that I could learn these lessons and not go back to those addictions and those types of things that hold me bound to life in general. So really getting to the root of my wounds and calling them out and doing the work, because you can feel those emotions, but people feel the emotions and then they go about their whole day. No, I started to do the work, started journaling every day, journaling my emotions, journaling my feelings, and then I started to kind of notice my triggers. Oh, okay. So then I noticed where I was having hard times at, and a lot of it was at work. I was having a hard time with authority. I was having a hard time with woman relationships and maintaining relationships with women. And I wasn't out here just funking and going crazy, but one wrong thing, blah. It's a wrap for me. I just really had my shield up because I just didn't want to get hurt. And I think that it's important that we understand that boundaries are important when it comes to having a shield, because those boundaries protect that shield from becoming a hard place. And it's okay to have our shield up in times when we're going through things, to have that alone time to isolate and reflect. But we do need that support. So having that support for me this go around really helped me. You know, my husband was here to help me with my daughters. I didn't always have that help with my daughters. I had to still go to work. I didn't get a break. I didn't, have a lot of things that I do now, which I do thank God for. So doing the work. And then the things that I don't have, how can I set up a place for that? Realizing, dang, I'm coming out of lack. My family has been in lack for this long, and how can I break the generational curses and start to help to build abundance? So, Harmony Corner came about 2021, and its sole mission was just to help women come out of domestic violent relationships and get advice for safe exits and just the emotional support. And grief and loss, the people that was dealing with grief and loss, to be able to have that outlet and support to be able to come to. So I started to do grief and loss sessions. And my first sessions that I started to do, I had 10 people show up consistently for a year. I ended up doing a grief and loss brunch for them, and it was just amazing. But the calls that I would get behind that would be like, dang, I'm so glad that you opened that space, because I never really had that. And not only did you open that space, but we talk more about just loss. Hey, what's going on in your life? What are you doing now? What are your next steps? Really giving individuals hope to come out of that, because I've been there. And I didn't realize the power that I had then, because I was moving so fast. So again, also stopping to acknowledge my strength. That's so major, you guys. We have to go back and acknowledge our strength, acknowledge who we are. When somebody told me, I can't remember who I was talking to, but it was a woman. This particular person told me, she said, you got to go back to that younger girl, and you got to hug her, and you got to love her, and you got to acknowledge her for her strength. And I said, dang, did I ever really go back and acknowledge that little girl for being so strong when she lost her dad? Did I ever go back and acknowledge that girl for being so strong, for being that protector for her younger brother? Because I didn't play about my brother. When our parents was gone and we was just kind of out here, you go through those feelings of feeling alone. You're just empty. You don't have those soul connections, and that really, really does something to you. So yeah, it was a struggle for me. But understand that everything that I need is within me. And, just because I lose these individuals in the flesh doesn't mean that I lose them in the spirit. And that's another thing to know, that I love so deep that way, to where my love is real, and I'm still human, and I'm still experiencing that. So that was major for me, to be able to open up that space for people and get all of those responses back, and still, even to this day, still hold grief and loss lessons, because I do individual grief and loss lessons where we get more into depth on the journey and the person and the lost loved one, or whatever it is, because some people come and it's not always about lost loved ones, maybe about a lost marriage or dreams that they have lost that they're trying to gain back, and they're needing the steps to gain those passions back. So opening up the floor for that. And I didn't understand that certain situations were setting me up for the purpose of my life. During that sit-down time, I realized how long I had been people-pleasing, how long I had just been going off life and just living and just going to work every day and doing a 9-to-5 thing, and just not really having that time with self and to love myself. So again, started to love on myself, started to take those deep baths, started to be like, nope, I need my time, give me my space, because who I am, I thrive off of that. I thrive off of having that, personal space and time to be able to think, to be able to be an innovator, to be able to create. And when I'm not doing that, I feel insufficient. So of course I was gonna feel that way, but I didn't know that. So during these healing processes, you also discover new gifts that have been in there. People talk about shadow work. And I would have to say that I've been doing shadow work for a long time, but 2021, it was like so much happened. So many things started to show up in my body. I started to get sick. I started to develop a severe skin eczema, and that's when I knew, okay, Yeah, healing is all in the body and what you go through and with trauma. And I became fascinated. And I started to do my studies and, back in college for psychology and really on those endeavors and back in my purpose. And every day hasn't been easy because, we doubt ourselves. We do, you guys, and we feel insufficient. But I've been doing this for so long. How can I just automatically switch here? And with the minimum support. Because if you come from a family that you don't have too many people that are in your same profession, it's also hard for the research. I don't have a lot of life coaches in my family. I don't have a lot of people that are trying to become psychiatrists in my family. But I do have some avenues that can guide me to those places, just not that specific. So really learning how to open those doors up again for myself and open those opportunities so that I won't be stuck. Because that's what it is. We start to feel stagnant. And in those moments and seasons of stagnation and lack is when we start to kind of act out a little bit, start to kind of rebel because we want other things. And our soul knows that this is not for us. But we have to transmute that pain into power and love and peace and lead off of positive intentions. And that's something else I started to study. When you really start to heal yourself and go through those things, you see people starting to work out and do those things. And I do those things and I'm doing them faithfully now. I do my workout at least 4 times a week. I'm doing my yoga 3 times a week. It's ritual for me now because it's me. I set up that time and that space to be able to do that. So you guys, when we're going through these painful events, don't give up. Understand that this is the motivation. This is what's going to help us transmute. This is what's going to help us bring those creative ideas. This is what's going to help open up those doors to wisdom and healing. This is what's going to help us drive those higher vibrations into this world and what we need. Because don't get me wrong, I've been there. People turn their nose at me. Oh, she's doing this now. And this is who I always been. But I've always been in my own lane doing it. You just didn't see it because you didn't see me. I got people that come to me now and be like, girl, I always knew you was going to do this. This was your thing. This was your calling. So I transmuted that. I'm helping people to overcome trauma. I'm helping them with the steps. I'm teaching them this, and it's a wonderful thing. And I started without pay, you guys, and was loving it. And this is how I knew that this was my calling and this was my passion. So just being able to transmute that energy and learning myself and getting back to the core and the true essence of me helped me to really transmute. I just want to motivate you guys. I'm just here to motivate. That's me. That's what I do. That's what I'm here for. I'm just here to motivate y'all. And just know that healing has no final destination, you guys. We're constantly evolving. And just remember, when we get stagnant, that's when the soul starts to wonder, what are you doing? We got things to do. We got purpose. We got people to connect with. We got leading and love moves to make, you guys. So just remember, when we go through those painful events, when we're feeling pain, remember to reflect. Remember to get back to those things that fill you up. Get back to that support. Get back to that love. Get back to that creativity. Get back to those sacred spaces. Look, you guys are here with me. Y'all could have been anywhere else but here with me today, but y'all chose to sit here and listen, and I thank you for that. Thank you for choosing I Transmute, where we understand to listen, where we learn and grow, and we glow from the inside out. If you liked what you heard, go on here and click the like, share, and subscribe button down there so you can be notified every time I get up on here, because I will be getting on here. And you guys, I will be having guests on here too to tell about their stories, how they overcame obstacles. I just had to get on here, get the loosey-gooseys gone, and get on here and start talking to y'all and just start tonight. But I have so many great things planned for the healing journey and so many talks. So again, like, share, and subscribe. All of my information will be in the link bio. If you want to book a one-on-one session with me, if you want to check out some of my merch and some of my digital PDF products that I have in the healing corner, that will also be below in the link, you guys. If you want to collaborate, because this is a season of collaboration. We are all better when we are together. It's, it's power in number, you guys. So don't be afraid to collaborate. The world has us in this whole separation mode, but no, that's what they want, how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to collaborate. So hey, if you want to collaborate, all that information will be in the link below. Thank you for coming. Let me leave y'all with a little bit of song that my ancestors gave me too, that I picked up actually when I was going through my healing journey. I was soaking, and it goes, I'm gonna walk on my journey, I'm gonna talk on my journey, I'm gonna walk on my journey. It's my life, and I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna talk. Love and light, you guys.